I started my career in senior living in an independent living community in Springfield, Illinois. Another community moved me to Seattle, where I had always wanted to live, and I worked for a few different companies there over the years. In 2015, I started my company, ClearPath Senior Living Solutions, helping families find the right assisted living and memory care. And in my career in senior living, I've often heard families say that moving their mom or dad into assisted living or memory care kind of felt like dropping their kids off at daycare that first time. Why would it feel that way? I'm your host, Valerie Lynn. What's love got to do with it? I say everything. Welcome to Desperately Seeking Senior Living, a podcast for sons, daughters, grandkids, spouses, and all caregivers who suddenly find themselves tangled in the search for senior living and care. If you like today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and check out our doable download in today's show notes for a printable summary of the show and a bonus tip. You're listening to our doable tips, short answers to your questions. Don't see your question listed? Send us a note. Then don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an answer. Hi, and welcome to the show. The first time I dropped my son off at daycare is burned in my brain, and it was a long time ago. He cried, I cried. It was terrible. And I think that one of the reasons moving your parent into a senior living community feels like this is because most of the time, this decision comes after you've taken on that role of caregiver and you know firsthand how vulnerable your mom or dad has become. Interestingly, fear of not getting good care is also one of the top reasons families are a little unsure of adult family homes. And I know that not every state has these, but they feel like there's not as much oversight in that setting as in a big assisted living community. But really, bad things can happen anywhere. A good friend of mine texted me, and I find that when the text is really long, it's usually not a good sign. Sure enough, she was really upset. A sibling had moved their mom into an assisted living where the assisted living had promised to make sure their mom was introduced around, invited to activities, checked in on, and overall just made to feel welcome and comfortable when she moved in. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. And my friend had to endure several phone calls over those first few days of her mom crying. She hadn't left her apartment in 3 days. And what made it even worse is that her mom had been really excited to move in. When I interview families and guests for my podcast, I always ask one final question, and that's what's your number one doable tip for families? Well, in episode 31, my guest, author Rosie Menkes, shares her doable tip. And you can find it at 29 minutes into the show, but I'll share it here. She said, when touring places, if it doesn't feel right in your gut from the minute you're there, it's not. Earlier in the episode, she shares how she would give second chances and it just never got better. And on one tour, she recalls getting really upset with the staff who had ignored a resident's request for help using the restroom. I always tell families I work with that I've worked in communities, but I don't live in any of these communities or homes, and that they have to go with their gut because you know your mom or dad better than anyone. Senior living and care is a business. Communities are businesses. Adult family homes are small businesses. And I'm pretty sure some would say that love doesn't have a place in business. But I disagree. One of my clients, who was an older gentleman, was looking for a new care setting for his wife who was dying of cancer. They had lived together in what's usually called a cottage on a senior living community campus, basically a house, but in that protected environment. But that community didn't have the ability to care for his wife in her final months. So he hired me to help him find a good place. He actually wanted an adult family home. So I did my research and took him to some really great places. Some were new homes, and all of them were beautiful and with great credentials. And I love adult family homes. But he said no to every single one. He said, Valerie, these just don't feel like home to me. He said, I want someone who's going to care for my wife the way I do, so that when I'm not with her, I don't have to worry. The next house I took him to wasn't quite as fancy as the other homes, but you could feel the love, the hugs, the care, the questions, the empathy. We both knew this was the place. His wife spent her final months and moments feeling loved. And I was so honored when he invited me to her celebration of life, and even happier when I saw that he had also invited the owner of that home. As a family, when you're looking for the right senior living community or adult family home, it should feel like family. You should be able to feel the staff really care about your mom or dad. You should feel the love. There's a memory care community that the executive director was telling me a story about how she makes her rounds every day. She moves through the community saying hello to each resident. And one morning she saw that one of her gentlemen, who she knew from talking with his family, was always clean shaven and would have never started his day without that shave. But on this morning, he was scruffy. So she grabbed a caregiver who explained that that morning he had refused to shave. And the executive director said, Oh, okay, I understand. Let's try a different staff member after breakfast. She didn't stop there. She got creative because she loves her residents. Caregiving is one of the hardest jobs. Whether you're a family caregiver or it's your profession, there are bad days, wrong decisions, lack of sleep, staff who call in, bills that have to be paid, days when residents have bad days, residents who fight and scream and call names, and the list goes on. If you're a caregiver in a senior living community or adult family home, I hope you became a caregiver because you care about others, and you probably did. And even on those hard days, I hope you know how much families appreciate you and are relying on you to smile, hug, joke around, check on, and just generally help their mom or dad have the best day possible. And listen, I know some families also sometimes take their grief out on caregivers, but of course, that's not the resident's fault. Some families, especially those whose loved ones have dementia, actually worry that no one will be able to take care of their mom or dad because they're the ones resisting care, the ones hitting, kicking, and generally being not very easy to love. But there are so many amazing caregivers who brush these things off, they get creative and enjoy the challenge, and then the reward when their creative ideas work. I love my job. I love thanking caregivers, hearing how happy families are, and I really love all the hugs. I've been working with a family for about 2 years. I've helped this same family with 3 different family members during this time. We were on our third tour of round 2 of touring, and as we said our goodbyes and their beautiful mom hugged me goodbye with that kiss on the cheek she always gives me, I said, "Love you." And I immediately checked myself and I thought, oh my gosh, I should not have said that. That's not professional at all. But she didn't miss a beat. She said, "Love you too." And her daughter just had the biggest smile on her face. And listen, I don't tell all my clients, "Love you," but maybe, just maybe, love is exactly what working in senior living should be about. Today's episode is brought to you by ClearPath Senior Living Solutions. ClearPath helps families find assisted living, memory care, and other resources. Find our contact information in today's show notes. Check out this episode's doable download in show notes for details including industry terms and definitions we discussed, as well as a bonus tip from our guest. Have questions or your own tips to share? Leave us a message. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, make it doable.